Hello, I'm Michelle, and today I'm going to be having a chat with Amy Kurtzwanting, and we'll be discussing the painted chinas made by the Griswold homeschool students. So most people know that Miss Florence opened the boarding house for artists, but did you know that she also used to run a school for girls? Today I'm going to learn a little bit more about the pieces of artwork and about the Griswold homeschool in itself.
So I'd love to tell you about these pieces of china that were done by the students at the Griswold homeschool, but I wanted to ask you, since you're a young woman in school, what are some of the subjects that you're studying in school?
Well, some of the subjects that we study are English, math, and science, history. We call that social studies, but it's basically just history, and then we do art and music.
So that's a really broad program. At the Griswold homeschool, they taught a slightly narrower program, and it really had to do with what people thought it was appropriate for girls to learn as they prepared to grow up in the 19th century. So the Griswold homeschool education was really, in part, the way that it had been for maybe the last 50 years. The school opened in the late 1870s, but they were teaching a curriculum that really emphasized what you call ornamental accomplishments. So it included art, it included music, it included painting china like this. But it didn't include science. It did include a little bit of history, but it was really about preparing women with skills that they would need to run a home and that would make them sort of appealing candidates for marriage. And so one of Florence's sisters was really adept as an artist, and she would teach painting. Florence taught music in the school, and so some of the pieces show different flowers or things that they could have seen outside. There's a nice little box here that has little daffodils on it. And they're the kinds of things that you would have done to show that you really, were an aesthetic person and had artistic skills. So not the kind of practical skills that we think of as being important for students, especially young women, to learn today. But the Griswold homeschool existed at a time when ideas about education were changing and more women were starting to go to colleges, especially women's colleges that started in that time. So by the time the school closes in the early 1890s, they had more of the kinds of subjects there that you were talking about studying yourself.
I think that it's great how just these little pieces of artwork can really tell a lot about the history and kind of like how education has evolved over the years.
Absolutely.